Have you ever felt like you're just kind of waiting? Waiting for instructions, for the next task, the next big opportunity to fall into your lap? Well, in this explainer, we are going to flip that script entirely. We're talking about making a shift from a passive mindset to a proactive, creative one. The kind that doesn't just wait for opportunities, but actually goes out and creates them. Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's start with a quick, honest gut check. When you run into a problem, a frustration at work or in life, what's your first instinct? Is it to point out what's wrong? Or does your brain immediately jump to, how could we fix this? Seriously, your answer to that one question gets right to the very heart of what we're talking about today.
So what is this entrepreneurial mindset, really? Look, it's got nothing to do with owning a company. Not really. It's a way of thinking. It's all about being proactive, about seeing challenges not as roadblocks, but as invitations to create something better. It's about taking initiative and adding value, no matter what your job title says.
To really get this, we need to stop thinking of entrepreneur as some special job title. Instead, let's start seeing it as a creative way of approaching, pretty much everything. Let's break down what that actually looks like.
It really boils down to this simple formula. First up, you've got ownership. That means taking responsibility for problems even when they're not technically your job. Then comes creativity, which is all about looking for new, better ways to solve those problems. And finally, the most crucial part, action. Actually doing something about it.
And this right here is the key idea. This is not just for startup founders in Silicon Valley. You can be the most valuable person on your team, in any company, in any role, just by adopting this way of thinking. It's about being the engine, not just another passenger along for the ride.
Okay, so if this whole thing is about creating value, what does that actually look like day to day? How do you even spot these so-called hidden opportunities? Let's get really practical here. Creating value sounds fancy, but it's actually pretty straightforward. It's anything that makes things better. Are you making a clunky process a little faster? That's improving efficiency. Did you find a way to save the company a bit of money? That's reducing costs. Are you helping out a coworker who's totally swamped? Yep, that's supporting your team. Value isn't some abstract thing. It's about making real, tangible improvements.
And here's where you can really see the difference in action. The passive mindset, it just puts up a wall. It says, nope, not my problem. But the entrepreneurial mindset, it sees the exact same issue and leans in, taking ownership and offering up a solution. It's such a small shift in language, but it signals a massive shift in attitude.
And this is so crucial. Every single time you take initiative, you're not just solving a problem. You are actively demonstrating leadership. Think about it. When you volunteer a solution, you're telling your boss and your team that you can be trusted, that you're thinking about the whole team's success, not just your own to-do list. This is how you build a career, one small, proactive step at a time.
So thinking this way is the first step for sure. But the real magic, the part that actually changes things, is when you turn those thoughts into reality. So let's talk about how to get from a simple idea to a concrete action.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? We all have ideas. The world is swimming in them. But the people who make a real impact, they're the ones who figure out how to build a bridge between a great thought and a real-world result. That bridge is called execution.
So here's a fantastic, super practical framework to help you do just that. The simple model. It takes that big, scary concept of execution and breaks it down into small, manageable steps. First, you spot a problem. Then you imagine a solution. You make a small plan. Seriously, don't try to solve world hunger on day one. Then you present your idea, launch a small version, and finally, evaluate and improve. It's a simple, repeatable cycle.
Now, a huge part of taking action is getting other people on board with you. It could be your boss, your teammates, or maybe even your first customer. And that means you've got to be able to explain your idea clearly and with confidence.
Forget about long, boring presentations. A really great pitch can be broken down into these 5 simple parts. Start with the problem you're solving. Then, explain your solution. Describe the value it creates. What's in it for them? Briefly touch on why you're the right person to do it. And finally, state the immediate next step you want to take. That's it.
Just look at this example. It's so good. It clearly identifies the problem. Students struggling with resumes. It presents the solution, a review service. The value is obvious, better job prospects. It's simple, it's clear, and it's actionable. This is exactly how you get people to nod their heads and say, okay, I'm listening, tell me more.
All right, we've talked about the mindset, how to spot opportunities, a model for taking action, and even a structure for your pitch. Now, it's time to put it all together and make it real. It's your turn.
Let this idea really sink in for a second. The most successful people aren't just the luckiest. They don't just happen to be in the right place at the right time. They are constantly observing, thinking, and acting in small ways that over time create their own luck.
So I want you to ask yourself this question right now. Think about your job, your classes, your community. What is one small frustration, one little inefficiency, one problem that you can improve even just a tiny bit? And here is your challenge. Don't just let this be an interesting idea you heard. Turn it into action. Identify that one small improvement, and then take the very first, tiniest step toward making it happen. Do it in the next 48 hours. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for permission. Just start.
Because in the end, that's what this is all about. It's about shifting your entire perspective. From waiting for a future you hope will happen, to actively building the future you want, step by step. So don't just prepare for opportunities. Go out and create them.